Greetings YouTube, Simon here, and today we're going to be taking a look at this. This is the Elgato 4K60 Pro hardware capture, and this is brand new. Now for those of you who are dedicated streamers, you may be asking yourself, why am I saying it's brand new? This thing's been out since 2017. Yes and no, the 4K60 Pro is certainly a couple of years old. But this is the second edition of the product, and it has a few changes, not least of which is the price. So I would have loved to have been able to bring 4K PS4 content to you guys for the last few months, but unfortunately the £360 that Elgato wanted for the 4K60 Pro was too much for me to justify making that purchase. One of the good things about the Mark II here is that the price has come down drastically. It's no longer £360. Brand new, this is only $229, which for 4K hardware capture is not too bad at all. And here's the thing, this is actually a superior product. So let's get on and have a look. So just before we get started, a huge shout out as always to everybody who supports me on YouTube and Patreon. Now some of the features of the 4K60 Pro are going to be the same as the original version of the card. Obviously you're going to be able to record in multiple resolutions up to and including 4K capture, which is 2160p, and at 60 frames per second as well. However, where the changes come in is that first of all this now does high frame rate capture for lower resolutions. So you can do up to 240 FPS at 1080p, which is wonderful for those of you who are streaming, so not streaming so much, but more recording and uploading PC gaming footage. So you can actually do that at a much higher frame rate. You still get your instant game view. I'm going to test that out, make sure it's still as lag-free as I've come to know from Elgato. But one of the good things about this is that you can actually record HDR as well. And you can also use this for multi pieces of software at once, capture software. So you could use the Elgato software, for example, for your 4K video recording, and you do need to use the dedicated Elgato software for that. But then you could also use OBS to be streaming at the same time at 1080p with all your overlays and what have you on the screen. So I'm not sure whether the original 4K60 Pro could do that. Somebody could let me know in the comments, but this certainly can. However, this also requires a larger PCI Express slot. You can't use the PCI Express 1 slots. You are going to be needing those larger graphics card slots. So let's get the box open and see what we've got inside. Oh, there it is. Now, for those of you that have already seen a 4K60 Pro, the original edition of this, you'll notice immediately that the card has been redesigned. Let's get it out of this packet. The new version of the 4K60 Pro actually looks to me to be almost identical in design to the 1060 Pro. Sorry, no, to the HD60 Pro, which is what I was using before. That's this one. Okay then, folks, so I've taken the HD60 Pro out. We're going to be putting the 4K60 Pro in. Hopefully you guys can see the differences there. Mainly the difference, of course, in terms of the physical looks, is the fact that the slot on the 4K60 Pro is larger, as I mentioned. And one of the things I like about Elgato's capture devices is that they are so easy to install. Really, really simple. That's literally all there is to it. Just slot it in and you're good to go. So with the card installed, and hopefully you can see that there, it takes up quite a low profile inside the rig. We're going to get the software set up, the 4K software, and actually start putting this thing to the test, see what we've got. Okay, so the app was really easy to download, install. So it's the 4K capture utility, and this, as I say, is going to be used for dedicated 4K recording. So you can see that it's basically plug and play with the hardware capture device. If we just go to settings, start at the beginning, general, we've got enable stream link beta. This is what will allow you to record in 4K while also streaming in another piece of software such as OBS at 1080p at the same time, so that you can do your stream, have all your overlays, but then have a nice clean 4K recording for editing and YouTube uploads later on. So a great little feature there. Device, pretty much leave this as standard unless you have 2 or more capture devices that you want to cycle through here. As you can see, this is identifying correctly as the Mark II. So if you try to purchase this device off Amazon or something and it doesn't say Mark II, then you might want to send it back because they've sent you the older device rather than the newer one. Picture, you can fiddle about with some of the settings if you want to your leisure. I'll just probably keep these as the default to tell you the truth. And then recording, you can set your library and screenshot locations. Video encoder, it's going to set your GPU by default as the video encoder, and I recommend strongly just leaving that as the video encoder. Software, as I say, will use CPU and it will use a lot of system resources, and you'll probably get a more lag experience than just using the graphics card. You can also enable HDR recording, but for most of my videos I think I'm just going to leave this disabled so that everybody can enjoy the picture, because if you enable HDR and somebody's watching on YouTube that doesn't have an HDR monitor, all the colours are going to be completely washed out for them, so just use that with caution. Here you can select the output. You can also use this software to record at 1080p if you want, or 1440p as well. Now the video bitrate is quite important because that's going to determine both the file size, and as you can imagine 4K video files do take up quite a bit of space, but also it's going to determine the quality. So, for example, at 4K 60 frames per second, the default bitrate is 71.4 megabits per second. I can reduce that if I want to a minimum of 34.4, which is going to reduce both the quality of the video and also the file size. So, you know, adjust this as you see fit. But just bear in mind that YouTube itself also supplies its own compression algorithms, which could reduce the quality further. So we're going to do some tests as well, see how they come out. But that's pretty much it. You can also enable flashback recording. This will then start recording automatically when you open the program, and delete the files if you don't do anything with it afterwards. But it, you know, gives you opportunity to rewind, if you like, your gameplay if you think there's some important situation that you want to show people, but you never actually hit the record button. And finally, you can set up your microphone as well. Alright then guys, well I'm going to switch over now to the Elgato software. I'm currently recording in OBS, and we'll see some of the results of recording in 4K here. Here we have the fantastic, the amazing Spider-Man then. But one thing I should mention is that because I used my video camera earlier in this YouTube video, and that was recording at 24.97 frames per second, I've had to render the entirety of this video at the same frame rate. So even though right now I'm recording on the Elgato capture device at 60 FPS, unfortunately you guys won't actually see that. So I apologise that I can't show you that in this particular video, but rest assured it is recording and it's as smooth as butter. I don't know what to do about HDR, because I think that means I would have to set up my second monitor as an output display if I want to play in HDR. I don't think I can actually output in HDR through the Elgato preview window, which is what I'm playing through at the moment, without actually recording in HDR as well, which I don't want to do. So this is at that 71, whatever it was, Mbps bitrate, as you can see. Looks pretty darn good. I'm actually going to drop that now. So this now is at 40, okay? It was at 70. I've almost halved it, almost brought it down to the minimum, in fact, which is 34. So, personally, I can't really notice a difference here. I've got to be honest with you. It looks pretty much the same as it did. There's a little bit more artifacting, but you'd have to look really close for that. And for the vast majority of my Let's Play content, I don't think it's going to be all that important. Alright guys, well there we have it, the Elgato 4K60 Pro Mark II capture device, which is a big improvement actually on the original 4K60 Pro, and a big reduction in price as well. I think one of the reasons the price has been reduced is due to the actual physical hardware. They've had a few cutbacks. I noticed there was no back plate on this device, whereas there was a back plate, for example, on the original 4K60 Pro. But hey, as long as this thing lasts, which I'm sure it will, Elgato have done pretty good hardware, I've never had any problems with it in the past, then I'm happy to pay a lower price for a better capture device overall. So guys, please do share your thoughts on this, especially if you are a streamer yourself or a YouTube content creator. Is this something you're going to invest in for your own content, for your viewers, or are you happy with just sticking with 1080p for now? And if you do want to check out this capture device, I'll leave a link to Amazon products down in the description below. But thanks for stopping by. Looking forward to doing some more tests with this. I've been your host Fuzz, as usual, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.